Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick my gun and customization for each episode. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick a highly rated comment for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from ShadowMo360. He says, the trigger happy loadout, DBV-12, Cobra sight, red laser sight, angled grip, full choke or modified choke, dart rounds. He then talks a bit about the loadout and mentions how this shotgun really isn't shown a lot on YouTube and people don't talk about it too much. And that's pretty much true. Shotguns are not too popular in Battlefield 4, and it's kind of because they perform weirdly. There's a lot of inconsistencies among them, but some of the auto shotguns are still very good. And you're going to see from the gameplay here that it's not really going to slow me down. It's just going to change my playstyle quite a bit. And before even jumping in to get gameplay, I knew I had to pick the right maps for this loadout because you just can't run into any game with a shotgun and expect to have some fun. A lot of maps in Battlefield 4 have a huge amount of open spaces, especially if you're playing Rush and there's a weird stalemate at a big wide open area. It can be very hard to use the shotgun. On the other hand, if you're playing a Rush map that has a lot of good close quarter action, then the shotgun can be absolutely perfect. And honestly, when it came down to it, I found playing Conquest normal on maps like Pearl Market here, or just team deathmatch on a variety of good close quarter maps ended up being the best, and I think you guys will find the same if you decide that you're going to run with shotguns for a while. Now how about the DBV-12? Let's break this gun down, see what it's all about, and see if this loadout really is the best way to run it. First of all, you've got a semi-auto shotgun. It means it's going to be doing a little bit less damage per shot than a pump action, but that's because you can fire much quicker, and you're also going to have a much bigger magazine. 10 in the mag plus 1 in the chamber. You can have a total of 11 shots to down your opponent. Now because this shotgun shoots 9 pellets, each of which are doing 12.5 maximum damage with flechette rounds, it's not going to give you a lot of margin of error when shooting people up close to get a one-shot kill. However, a two-shot kill is very easy to do, and with a 200 round per minute rate of fire, it ends up being a very forgiving gun. However, I will say one of the areas in which I don't like shotguns in Battlefield 4 versus Battlefield 3 is that when hip-firing shotguns in this game, it seems to be very unpredictable and inaccurate. You do have this little crosshair in the center of your screen that is a circle, and that thing just never really seems to represent where your shots are going to go with shotguns. So I try and aim down sights whenever possible. Only when in extreme close quarters do I try and hip fire. There's just something weird and wonky about the system. I don't like it. It's very unpredictable. I don't recommend it. I think if you're having a really hard time with shotguns, try aiming down sights for a lot of your shots, even close to close medium range. Now this is a magazine fed shotgun, so you're not going to be reloading one shell at a time. It's the whole mag. Luckily, it's got a very fast reload on that mag of 2.2 seconds. Now if you use every single shot in your magazine, which you shouldn't be unless you are absolutely up against the wall and you're just engaging guy after guy after guy, then you'll probably run through all your rounds. But if you get that short reload, you get the nice 2.2, but if you hit the long reload, it's 3.4, which is a bad situation to be in. But granted, if you're bottoming out your mag, then you're probably in a pretty bad situation to begin with. Now, as for deciding between using a full choke and a modified choke, personally, I like to use a modified choke on a lot of the shotguns just because it allows me to screw up a little bit more than if I had a full choke. Full choke is great for longer ranges, but you know what? The modified choke is still pretty good at those ranges, and it allows you a little bit wider spread in close quarters, so that if your accuracy is just slightly off, you're not going to miss completely. I just have been having a lot of bad luck with the full choke on the shotguns. It's one of those things that's kind of harder to understand because the shotgun physics in this game just seem all over the place, and it's really beyond my analysis for the most part. But I will just say, for my own personal feeling, I think that the modified choke is going to work out a little bit better overall, at least for my style of gameplay, which definitely involves a lot of running and gunning. Now I did pick the assault class for this setup simply because if you're in close quarters, chances are there's a lot of your opponents that are going to be shooting back at you, and you can't really afford to get into more and more engagements if your health is not at max. You need every little drop of health to survive you through till the next engagement. And sure, the same principle applies to pretty much any class in the game, but if If you have a good long range to medium range weapon, you can play stealthier, you can engage people with lower health because you're not anticipating them shooting back at you. The shotgun doesn't give you a lot of options. You're going to get up in people's faces, they're probably going to return fire, and you're going to take some damage, so you absolutely have to have full health all time. And here we are playing on the Propaganda map, which I honestly thought would be a terrible map for shotguns. The server switched to it and I said, oh, what the hell, I'll give it a try. But I did manage to find some good paths through the map that allowed for a lot of close quarter gameplay. This map does look very open, but as long as you avoid the open parts and really stick into the houses and right around the train, you can actually do pretty well with any sort of shotgun there. You just are limited, and that's the one thing that I really don't like about shotguns and Battlefield 4, is that so many of the maps don't provide you with good paths to get through the maps with shotguns, whereas Battlefield 3 had a lot more good close quarter pathing. You're going to find yourself very limited in BF4, but again, I'm sticking to the outskirts here, moving up on buildings, trying to use my shotguns as best as possible, and then once you get into the buildings, that's where you have a huge advantage and you can go through 4 or 5 guys with one magazine, no problem. Now, if Battlefield only consisted of building clearing, then shotguns would certainly be some of the best guns in the game. Unfortunately, you really have to fight your way to get into building clearing situations. They're just far less common. Now, as for the underbarrel attachment, the angled foregrip worked fine. A vertical foregrip would also work. Honestly, I don't think the underbarrel attachment is that important for shotguns in general. I mean, I guess it kind of depends how precise you're being or what kind of setup you're going for, but if you're aiming down sights for a lot of your kills, then the angled foregrip is certainly going to work really well. Now, frankly, I really like this loadout and the way it plays out. I don't think I would change anything. I was turning the laser sight on and off depending on what sort of situation I was in, but other than that, it was just fine. Now, something that the loadout didn't mention was your sidearm. You're definitely going to want something that kind of complements this. So not another gun that's really good at close quarters. You're going to want something that can definitely deal some damage at further ranges. So I was using the Deagle, which certainly is accurate if you're aiming down sight. It's going to allow you to deal out a massive amount of damage at range, and I was definitely getting a lot of kills with it. And right here you'll actually see me make good use of it. I'm working towards the trains, trying to stay close quarters, but there's some guys out in the open further away, and the Deagle makes quick work of them. Then I can switch back to the DBV-12 and continue to clear out this train, which is mostly close quarter combat. So I've got kind of a nice combination of both worlds here, and it gives a fun little way to mix up your gameplay style rather than just relying on one primary weapon to do all the work for you. Now, if you're a confident pistol user and you like some run and gun close quarter action, then I highly recommend this loadout. Just make sure you pick the right maps to play on, and don't forget to leave your comments down below letting me know what you would like me to run with for next week's episode of Loadout. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.